Christianity, this is, again, another attack against Christianity. Christianity was beat into black people, and that it was given to black people during slavery by their slave masters. So the meme is on the other side. The meme says, "Make no mistake, when the slave masters beat your ancestors into conforming to their religion, it was not about saving their souls for a God that loved them. It was about conquering their souls, their personalities, their identity, and even their deities, to break them into obedient slaves. There is no love in that equation." Again, this is another constant charge from the community. Now, it is historically true, it is true, I think we all know this, that slaveholders absolutely hijacked Christianity and absolutely misused Christianity and the Bible to do absolute evil to people who are made in the image of God. I don't know if you guys have ever looked into what the transatlantic slave trade was actually like. It was no words, I guess. Abominable doesn't even do it justification. It is absolutely true, okay? But these people understood that their slave masters were giving them a broken and imposturing Christianity. That also is not a word. I made that up the other morning as well, okay? Imposturing Christianity, okay? But all we have to do is listen to the words of those who were enslaved. We have what's called slave narratives, okay? So this is, slave narratives would be, I think, a better piece of information than someone who's talking in the 21st century, right? Okay, so here's the experience of William Ward. He was born a slave in the early 1830s in Georgia, okay? On Sundays, the slaves were permitted to have a religious meeting of their own. This usually took place in the backyard or in a building dedicated for this purpose. They sang spirituals, which gave vent to their true feelings. Many of these songs are sung today. There was one person who did the preaching. His sermon was always built according to the master's instructions, which were that slaves must always remember that they belonged to their masters and were intended to lead a life of loyal servitude. None of the slaves believed this, although they pretended to believe because of the presence of the white overseer. If this overseer was absent sometimes, and the preacher varied in text of his sermon, that is, if he preached exactly what he thought and felt, he was given a sound whipping. Okay? Here's another narrative. I don't have it up here. The plantation owner would not permit them to hold religious meetings or any other kind of meetings, but they frequently met in secret to conduct religious services. When they were caught, the instigators, known or suspected, were severely flogged. Charlotte recalls how her older brother was whipped to death for taking part in one of the religious ceremonies. This cruel act halted the secret religious services. And that's a narrative, an account by Charlotte Martin. She was born a slave in 1854 in Florida, okay? These aren't the words of ancestors who were forced to embrace God, right? This is not the words of people who, were whipped into submission, into accepting Christianity, okay? It's ancestors who willingly and intentionally loved and prayed to and believed in the God that they believed who would deliver them. And so the Kemetic community is wrong. So, are you timing me? Okay.
It's 11:05. It's 11:05.
Okay, thank you. So I want to end with this quote from an awesome book. Inevitably, Non-Christian worldviews are simply unable to stand up to the truth of reality, and thus they're unreliable. However, Christianity, however, is wholly reliable because its foundation rests on a person who is truth, and truth is knowable. Okay? So the conscious community gets a lot wrong, but there's good news because truth is knowable, right? And his name is Jesus. Yeah. And I yield. Okay? Thank you for listening.